Hello James, today we are starting with chapter 3 of class 11 physics, which is motion in two dimension or motion in a plane. Before diving straight into this introductory lecture, make sure that you have seen the series on vectors, or you must know vectors up to a good extent by yourself. Okay, with that being said, editor, roll the content for today's class. Okay, so let us begin with our discussion on motion in a plane. Actually, all that we need to know today is all that we already know. Why did I say that? Because we already know motion in a straight line, right? So we are just going to go one step ahead and extend the concepts of 1D to 2D. Okay, so let's begin today's discussion by choosing a vector. So we have chosen a vector in this plane, okay, the plane of the board. Okay, let's consider this plane to be xy plane. We'll consider this axis over here is the x-axis, okay, and this axis which is going up, shooting up, is the y-axis. So this is the xy plane. We have chosen a vector. Why did we choose a vector? Because most of the terms, if you see in motion, in kinematics especially, you have velocity, displacement, acceleration, all of them are vectors, right? So you can plug any of them over here. So I'll say velocity, you can choose anything. Now we already know to resolve a vector, right? So I'll tell you why we are doing this, but we already know to resolve a vector. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so if I say the velocity is vx in the x direction and vy in the y direction, you can easily resolve this vector, right? You can resolve it in ijk, or if you know this theta, okay, this angle is theta, suppose, then you'll use trigonometry, right? So let's resolve it in ijk first. How to resolve this? So you'll break it into two perpendicular components. This vector, you'll break it into two perpendicular components and say this is vx. Of course, it is along x-axis, so that I cap vector comes, and this is vy, right? Okay, along the y-axis, so j cap. Now you can also use trigonometry to do that, right? You know that this side which is adjacent to theta, the side adjacent to theta is v cos theta, where v is magnitude of the vector. Okay, magnitude of the vector v. Okay, so v cos theta in the x direction, of course, and you have this as v sine theta, right? The side which is opposite to theta is v sine theta. I've just shifted it over here, right? Okay, so why did we resolve this vector into two vectors? Okay, the answer lies in this statement. This statement is the heart and soul of today's lecture. Okay, so just reflect on it once. So the statement goes this way: motions in motions along any two perpendicular axes. This is the plural of axis, yes. So motions along any two perpendicular axes are independent. Okay, just reflect over it once. It's a magical statement. Okay, so we what did we do so far? We just broke this vector into into its two perpendicular components, and now we are saying that motions along any two perpendicular axes are independent. So you can say that motion along vx is independent of motion along vy, right? Vx is not dependent on vy, right? Here also you can say that v cos theta is not dependent on v sin theta, because they are along, see, this is along x-axis, right? And this is along y-axis. And this statement says that motion along two perpendicular axes is, this is perpendicular, right? This is perpendicular. So motion along two perpendicular axes are independent, right? So this motion is independent of this. So you can break this 2D thing, into two 1D things which are independent of each other, right? So you broke this 2D thing into two 1D motions, right? 2D into two 1D motions which are independent of each other. So you can apply 1D your 1D logics in this direction and this direction. We'll come to the logic, okay, how to solve the problems and all, don't worry. But now just acknowledge the fact that 2D can be broken into two 1Ds. Okay, 2D is more like two 1Ds. Quote for the day. Add that at the end of the lecture. Okay, so 2D is more like two 1Ds. You can also have a feel for the statement. Suppose we have north, south, east, west. Okay, and now if you move, I have drawn it in this plane. It's in the horizontal plane, I know. Suppose we have north, south, east, west, and now you walk 5 kilometers in the north direction. Now you are here. Okay, you have walked 5 kilometers. Should I draw it a little big? Here you have north, south, east, and this is west. Now suppose you move 5 kilometers in the north direction. Okay, 5 kilometers in the north direction, and then from there you move 3 kilometers in the east direction. Okay, so did moving in east affect your motion in the north direction? Did moving in east affect your motion in the north direction? No, right? You are still at 5 kilometers from the north. Your final position is this. You are still 5 kilometers from north. Why did that happen? Because motion along any two perpendicular axes are independent. Okay, so this motion, the motion in north, is independent of the motion in east. But if the same thing, suppose you had to walk 5 kilometers in north and now you walk 3 kilometers south. Okay, now your final position is over here, right? It did affect, right? Now it's 2 kilometer. First you walk 5 kilometer north, then from there you walk 3 kilometers south, right? 5 kilometers north, 3 kilometers south, so you are finally at 2 kilometers north, right? So you are 2 kilometers away in the north direction, and that did affect your distance, right? Because north and south are not perpendicular, so motion along only any two perpendicular axes are independent. So this is the idea behind the statement. Whenever we have this 2D thing, we are going to break it into components and then solve them one by one, right? 2D is two 1Ds, two independent 1Ds. Okay, a lot of things are going on today, but you'll enjoy it. Okay, so you can note that idea down. 2D is two 1Ds, two independent 1Ds. So that statement which enlightened you, the vector logics, breaking it into components, and the example for the statement. Okay, now I'm going to throw a little bit of bookish knowledge on you, so get ready, don't get bored. It's very easy, and we'll cover up it in a jiffy. Okay, so all the results in 1D will hold now, right? We know that results of 1D holds. Okay, you just have to, all the results in 1D are true over here. You just have to keep in mind the vector aspect, right? So place everything vectorally. Okay, take in consideration the vector aspect. In 1D, what did we do? We just ignored the vector, right? We said we followed a convention. This side is positive, that side is negative, and all of that. But now we have to keep in mind the vector aspect. Okay, so how did you solve the questions of uniformly accelerated motion? Okay, uniformly accelerated motion in 1D. Simple, right? We used to use the laws of motion, right? Equations of motion. So which were v is equal to u plus at. Now I am placing everything vectorially. You can see that v is a vector, final velocity, initial velocity, and acceleration. All three of them are vector. Time is not a vector, of course. Then we had s is equal to, this displacement is a vector, initial velocity vector, time not a vector, half a t square, right? So you have to place things vectorially, right? And now the third one is also there, but let's not go into that. We are not going to use the third equation. Okay, now coming to non-uniformly accelerated motion. Okay, how did we solve the questions of non-uniformly accelerated motion? Just in a brief. Okay, not going into the depths. We used to use the calculus logic, right? Integration and differentiation. Like we used the direction, suppose Vx, we want to find Vx. How will we do it? Dx by dt, where x is the displacement in x. Now it's the displacement in x. Similarly, you can write for Vy, it will be dy by dt. Okay, displacement in y. Now these are vectors, so this is along x-axis, right? Displacement in x is along x-axis, and with respect to time will give us the velocity. Similarly, this is along j cap, and you have, okay, dz by dt, and along k cap, which is the z axis. Now you can also combine them. Instead of finding them separately, you can combine them under a single roof. Okay, so we can say vx, the net vector v is vx plus vy plus vz. Okay, this is just a bookish thing. When we'll do the problems, you will get to know what we are discussing. Sorry. So v is, so in place of vx we can put dx by dt I cap. So instead of differentiating separately, we can directly differentiate. That is what I mean. Okay, dz by dt, and you have k cap. Okay, instead of separately differentiating them vx, vy, and vz, you can, if you have vector in a component form, you can directly differentiate. Okay, we'll come to the questions. Now in non-uniformly accelerated motion, we also had acceleration. Acceleration will be dv by, suppose acceleration in x will be dvx by dt. Okay, velocity in x by dt, of course along I cap. Now I'm not going to discuss each of this. Similar discussion, right? Similar discussion. No, not bombarding you with the bookish things. You'll get bored. Okay. So we'll try to get everything through questions. Okay. We are going to discuss it in a very good way, not like the books who bore you up. Okay. And if you can't solve a 2D question, what do you have to do? The easiest way, the answer to every question in 2D will be, almost all questions in 2D will be, you'll have a vector, right? 2D, a vector in the plane. So you have to just break that vector. Either you'll have it in the component form ijk, or you'll have that theta. So if you have that theta, you can break it into any vector, suppose v. So we can break it into v cos theta and v sin theta. Okay, now we can easily apply our 1D logics, right? Along the x-axis you apply. Along the x-axis, suppose it is uniformly accelerated motion, then you can apply this, right? Vx is equal to, so along the x-axis I am applying this now. Okay, now no need to specify the vectors, right? Along the x-axis, everything is along the x-axis. Okay, also vy, so you just break it into two independent motions, right? Two independent, 2D is two independent 1Ds. Okay, so that's all of the bookish things that I wanted to mention. You can note that down, but we are going to discuss all of this in numerical form. Okay, so that will make things easier for you. Time for the questions. Okay, so here is a question on the board. You can try it if you wish to. Otherwise, you just take today's class as a illustrative class. Just sit back and enjoy. Okay, watch me solve it. Okay, this is a AIEEE 2009 question. It is actually very easy. Okay, so what is asked? You are given u, initial velocity, acceleration is given, find particle speed. Okay, at t equals 10. So u is given, a is given, t is given, but they have asked for speed. Speed is scalar, right? A magnitude, a value. You can see that. So we have what we'll do is, first we'll find the final velocity at t equals 10 seconds, and then we'll find the magnitude. The magnitude of velocity will be the speed. So we have u, we have a, we have t. So we'll use v is equal to u plus vectorially u plus at. Sorry, u plus at. Okay. So now just plug in the values. 3 I cap plus 4 j cap plus a is 0.3 I cap plus 0.4 I cap plus 0.3 j cap into 10. Okay, so you already know that scalar multiplication, right? How to multiply a scalar in component form? Multiply it to each of the components, right? To each of the coefficients of the component. So multiply it to 0.4, that will give you 4 I cap, and 0.3 into 10 will give you 3 j cap. Okay, so you just have to add this 3 plus 4 7, 4 plus 3 7. Okay, 7 I cap plus 7 j cap. Now the job is not done, you have to find the magnitude. How do you find the magnitude? Just add the squares of their coefficient, right? Add the squares of their coefficients of the components. So you get 7 square plus 7 square, which is 7 root 2. If you don't believe me, it's bad, but yeah, I'll show you. 2 into 49. So as I said, root 2 will remain there, and 49 will come out as as 7. So 7 root 2 is the correct answer. Okay. So we are going to have numericals based on the bookish things that we learned. Okay. Question 2. Okay. So here is the second question. You can try it. It has asked you for the magnitude of acceleration. You can see its mains 2019 question, a recent one. You are given the r vector or the position vector or the displacement vector, you can call it, and you are asked for the acceleration. So what will you do, right? The easiest thing is to differentiate this, get the velocity vector, and then again differentiate the velocity thing and get the acceleration, right? And then find the magnitude. Okay, so let's do that. I hope you know differentiation. So I'll write r first. 15 t square plus I cap, sorry, don't miss out the vector thing, I cap plus 4 minus 20 t square into j cap. Okay, so first you are going to differentiate this, right? So differentiate each of this, right? How did we differentiate dr by dt? Remember the bookish thing that we discussed, dx by dt, I cap you'll have, dy by dt, j cap you'll have, and this is nothing but v, right? Vector v. So vector v. Okay, so differentiate this and differentiate this, each of the coefficient of the component. So differentiate this, you'll get 30t, and differentiate this. Those who don't know differentiation and integration, the link is again in the description. Okay, don't scratch your heads, go watch it. Now this is 4 and this you'll get as minus 20t. Okay, minus 20t or minus 40t. Okay, sorry, minus 40t, that 2 will come down, and yeah. So again you have to differentiate, right? From velocity to acceleration, you get acceleration by differentiating velocity. Okay, so again the same procedure which we applied over here. Okay, differentiate this and differentiate this. Okay, don't miss the vectors, sir. Okay, so 30t differentiated, 30 I cap plus again differentiate this, this will be minus sign will remain, 40 j cap, 40, this t will go, and j cap, right? 30 40 50, right? The Pythagoras triplet, so 50 is the answer. Okay, so you are asked for the magnitude, so that will be 30 square plus minus 40 square, so that doesn't make any difference. So the 3 4 5, I can remember that triangle, so it will be 50. Okay, so that was easy, right? So finally you get C, acceleration is independent of t, there is no t. Even if the time was 2 seconds, the answer would have been the same. Okay, anyways, extra things. Let's go to question number 3 and see what does it has to say. Okay, so here is the third question. It's also based on the previous question, just it has splitted up the motion for you. It has given you the x coordinate and the y coordinate separately. Now you cannot see the vectors, right? They have given you the x coordinate and y coordinate separately and ask you for the speed. Okay, So what will you do? You'll first find Vx, right? Vx, which is dx by dt, right? Whenever you have the x related to t, use the differentiation and integration logic. So you have Vx, then you'll get Vy, which is dy by dt, and of course along j cap, okay? And then you will compile it under one roof, which is the vector v, which is vxi, okay, vx plus vy, okay? And then you'll find the magnitude of this thing, okay? Does this sound confusing? Okay, let's do it. Vx is, just differentiate this. Alpha and beta are scalars, if I didn't mention that, okay? Alpha and beta are scalars, okay? So alpha comes out and you have 3t square, right? This is how you differentiate it. And also for vy, you'll have I cap, and for vy you'll have beta and 3 beta t square, okay? So you get j cap. So now you can put that under one roof, which is 3 alpha t square I cap plus 3 beta t square j cap, okay? And now just find the magnitude. What is the big deal? Just find the magnitude, okay? Just square this plus square this, right? You have to square the coefficient of the components. So 3 alpha t square, the whole squared, plus 3 beta t square, the whole square. So you can get that 3 out, t square out, and you will be left with alpha square plus beta square, okay? Solve it the way you want, you'll get this answer. Option B is the correct choice, okay? Now let's go to question number 4. I'll release one more type of this, one more sort of this question on the website. Do check it out, okay, just for practice. This type of questions are famous in your JEEs, mains, okay? So now this concept, this question will use a very good concept, which is question number 4. Here is question 4. It is an AIEEE 2005 question, okay? So this has a tinge of concept in it, so you can give it a genuine try. Actually, this will test how well you know your vectors, okay? So I'm doing it now. So they have asked you for average acceleration, right? Average acceleration. So initially the body was moving eastward with this velocity 5 meters per second, and now the velocity has changed to 5 meters per second in the northward, right? So velocity is a vector. Even a change in the direction changes the velocity, right? Though the magnitude is the same, 5 5, but it was eastward first, now it's northward, so velocity has changed, okay? So that velocity has changed in 10 seconds. Now what is the average acceleration? What was the formula for average acceleration in 1D, right? Though I didn't mention this in one of the bookish things, but yeah, you'll know it. So average acceleration will, what was the formula? Delta v by delta t, right? Change in velocity by the time taken, okay? Now we just have to place things vectorially, right? 1D holds, but place it vectorially, okay? So I have placed that vectorially. Let's solve it. So let's picture that will make the things easier. So suppose this is the north direction, okay, and this is the east direction, okay? And now initially vi, so the initial velocity is 5 meters per second in the east direction. So let the unit vector along that direction be I cap, okay? That won't disturb the ethics of the problem, okay? You can take E cap also, but that won't matter, okay? Now the velocity, final velocity, what is the final velocity? It is 5 meters per second in the j cap direction, north direction, okay? That we have chosen as j cap. So initial velocity vector is this way, final velocity vector is this way, okay? Same magnitude, but direction has changed. So can you write this delta V as V final minus V initial, right? Change is final minus initial, okay, and time is 10 seconds, right? So let's solve it somewhere. Okay, V final is, V final we know 5 j cap and minus V initial is 5 I cap, okay, and we have 10, so I'll take that 5 common and cancel, so we'll get this thing. Now we want the magnitude of acceleration and also its direction, okay. So magnitude we can easily find from here, right? So instead of writing it like this, okay, I'll write it as this, okay. Now we can easily find the magnitude, right? Just add the square of their coefficient. So half square plus half square, so that will be 1 by root 2. So 1 by 4 plus 1 by 4, okay. So that gives 1/4 plus 1/4 is half. So as I said, it's 1 by root 2, okay. The magnitude of the acceleration is 1 by root 2. So this is not correct, this is not correct. Now coming to the direction aspect, how will you determine the direction of acceleration, okay. Now you have 50% chances, you can take the risk, but where is the concept, okay. How will you determine the direction of acceleration, okay? Can you think about it? It's quite simple, okay. Where is that? Okay, I found it. So I'll find the direction. So I'll statement here, okay. The direction of average, the average acceleration has same direction as delta V. Now this seems to be a very bold statement. How did I make it a magic statement? No, actually, see, this does seem to be a magic statement. From where did it fall, right? Average acceleration has the same direction as delta V, but when you go to see it, it comes from the definition itself, the definition of average acceleration, right? So average acceleration and velocity, right? The change in velocity are separated by an equal to sign. So those are the two vectors which we are equating, sort of equating. This is a scalar, right? This won't have any direction. So these two vectors should have same direction, right? Otherwise we cannot equate them. So delta V and this average acceleration has the same direction, okay. That is the very good concept, okay, very good concept. It is also mentioned in NCERT, okay. So we just have to check for the direction of delta V, okay. That will give us the direction of acceleration and we are done, right? So how to find the direction of delta V? Delta V we know as V final minus V initial, right? Now you have to use the logics of triangle and triangle and your parallelogram law, okay. So V final is in, V initial is in this direction, east direction, right? And V final is in the upward direction, okay. Now we want V final minus V initial, right? It's just like adding, subtraction, as I said, is just like adding the negative of that vector, okay. So I can also write it V final plus minus V initial, okay. I'm going to add these two vectors, okay. So how do I write minus V initial? So V final will remain the same and V initial, I want minus of V initial, so I will flip it 180 degrees, right? Now all of this we have discussed in our vector chapters, okay. So I just flip this 180 degree. So we just have to add this two, right? V final and negative of V initial, negative of V initial and V final we have to add. Now complete the parallelogram. Here we have the resultant, the addition, right? V final plus minus V initial, okay. So here is the resultant. This direction is northwest, right? You can move that arrow over here, bring its tail over here, northwest, right? You can also see it from here, northwest. So northwest, 1 by root 2 northwest. Okay, so that had a tinge of concept in it, very very important. This is actually also mentioned in your NCERT, right? So AIEEE 2005, heads off to you, a very good question. Okay, so bye bye, a good question. Okay, we are now going to discuss the last question for the day, which is also a good question. It is question 5. Okay, here is question 5 on the board. It's from JEE Main 2020. It is also a very very good question. You can try it for yourself. Okay, so the initial velocity of the particle is given, acceleration is given, both as vectors. Okay, and you are told about the y coordinate. Okay, the y coordinate of the particle is so and so. Okay, basically the displacement, right? Displacement in y, or the position from the origin. So basically the distance in y, right? So displacement in y, displacement. Okay, so that is given to be 32. Now I'm not placing vectors because I know it's in y. Okay, so I'm not placing those vectors. I already know the direction. Okay, and they have asked you for Sx, right? The coordinate of the x coordinate or the displacement in x will mean the same because they are from the origin. Okay, now we are going to use the first logic, the first thing that we mentioned in today's class for this problem. What was that? Break 2D into two 1Ds. Break 2D into two 1Ds, two independent 1Ds. Okay, so here it is given in component form. So how can we break that? I'll teach you that. Okay, so suppose this is the particle. So you just break this velocity into two independent 1Ds. Okay, now this is only along x-axis, right? So we'll take this direction to be I cap, the direction of the x-axis. Okay, and this direction to be the j cap direction, the direction of the y-axis. Okay, now this has this velocity is only along the x-axis, so we can simply write it as 3, right? 3 in the x-axis direction, 3 in the I cap direction. Okay, j cap factor is not there, so this is, okay, I'll write it as ux, right? U in x direction is 3. Okay, and y direction it is not given. Acceleration if you see, it's in both directions, right? It is there in both the directions. Here in x it is 6, right? So acceleration in x is 6. Okay, again I'm not mentioning the vector aspect as I already know the direction. Again, acceleration in y, okay, y is 4. Y is 4. Acceleration in y, let's call it ay, is 4. Okay, ay is 4. What they have asked you is for sx, right? Now this seems pretty confusing, but it is very very easy. Okay, so first thing is to find the time. Why time, sir? Why are we behind time? Time is not mentioned in the question, but find time. I'll tell you the way to solve this question. Okay, so first find time. So we are going to find time through the equation sy is equal to uyt plus half ay t square. So I just wrote s is equal to ut plus half at square in the y direction. Okay, s is equal to ut plus half at square in the y direction. So let's apply that. Sy, what is sy? 32. When sy is 32, we want to find the time. Okay, when sy is 32, we want to find the time. Okay, I'll tell you its usefulness, but let's do it. Now what is uy? There is no uy, right? No j component, so uy is 0. There is no initial velocity in the y direction, so this is 0. And we have half ay is 4, and t square which we want to find, so this cancels that. So 2, and that will go for 16. T square is 16. Let us take the positive value only. It suggests that t is 4. Okay, t is 4. Time is 4. Now I told you one interesting thing, right? In 1D also, in 1D only I told you motion in one dimension. Okay, I'll erase this You can note that down. Okay, so we reached from the first scenario to the time, right? We found out the time when the displacement in y direction is 32. Now one thing I told you in 1D, which was time is independent of frame of reference. Actually, what do I mean by this is that the time along x-axis and the time along y-axis won't be different. Okay, they don't have separate clocks. Okay, whatever time has elapsed in y, that much amount of time will be elapsed in x. There is no tx and ty as such. Okay, whatever time has elapsed in y, that amount of same time has elapsed in x. Okay, so t is 4. Okay, t is 4. It is not ty is 4 or tx is 4, because t is 4. Okay, the time does not depend on frame of reference. Whether you see it from x direction or y direction, time won't change. Both of them have same clocks. Okay, so avoiding general relativity, of course. Now coming to Sx, this is the thing that we want, right? How will we get this? Ux t plus half ax t square. Now what is ux? Ux is 3. I removed that figure. Anyways, time is 4, right? 4 it took 4 seconds for the particle to reach to y, which is 32. It took 4 seconds for the particle to reach 32 meters in y direction. We want to find x at that time. Okay, so time is 4. So that was the idea behind the question. Is this too much for your head? Okay, ax is 6. Okay, and t is again 4. Time is independent of frame of reference. Okay, 3 4s are 12, and here you have 3. So 3 and 12, so that is 48. 48 plus 12 is 60 meters. So this was the main point. Time is independent of frame of reference, and here we have our answer. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today's lecture. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you soon in the next class. Till then, keep enjoying physics.